What's going on, three viewers? Jonathan, what's up? I sent the link to the rest of the panelists. We're just waiting for them to come in. Evidently, I was leaving that stream. I forgot to hit end broadcast, so thank you for a few of you telling me that. So did you like Spider Jeopardy? Hopefully you did. Hello, 8 people. What's going on? Bob Jones, Josh. What's going on? You guys beat all the regular panelists in. Not anymore. Here comes Ashley. Hey, Ashley.
Hello.
We have 8 people watching us. And here comes George.
Awesome.
There you are. Yo, yo. George, when would you like to record some Fight Club? You're muted, George. There's Zach. Nope, can't hear you.
Can't hear you. Can't hear. Nope.
Nope.
I can see
Nope.
you, but we can't see you. We can't hear you.
Can't hear you. Bob, I'm glad you like Spider Jeopardy.
What did you think? Did you see my name, Douglas?
Spider Jeopardy bridesmaid. Yeah, George, nothing. Still.
Lifetime supply of nothing.
Or it could be just
Fell
or it
apart,
could
man.
be just I'm doing. It could just be that
No,
I'm
yeah,
doing
you're
that.
good.
Just
Oh,
meant-
you back.
You're good now. You're
That
good
was
now.
pretty good. Going on, JR?
Hey.
I can hear you now, George.
Good.
Yeah, I was messing with you the whole time. My mic was live the entire time.
I know it.
Oh, I didn't hear that part.
That was the whole. Brad got it. Never mind.
Hey,
Oh my
Web
God.
for Brains Douglas, and he misspelled Douglas. Douglas. How's it hanging?
Douglas.
Ooh. Man,
Web for brains, Douglas.
getting beat up.
Well, you know, you did it to yourself, Douglas. Let's be completely frank.
Tilt your camera down and behave.
Oh, are you gonna kick me off again? I'll go, dude. I can go down and gamble. Like, you know,
What'd you do in Vegas? Played Spider Jeopardy.
exactly. For you, Douglas. For you.
I appreciate it.
And for George.
Let me pull up. We're starting with JR,
I'd
I
hate to-
think. On this
I'd
one.
hate to miss such a well-hosted game of Spider Jeopardy.
Yearly tradition. Yep. Chi-Town
It's one of my favorite
says
traditions,
Spider
George.
Jeopardy was hysterical. Major props to George. I would agree.
Historical. not
I reworked
hysterical.
the final Jeopardy question just for you, Shaytown.
Venkman, I've said this before. Spider Jeopardy is my favorite yearly podcast tradition. I go back and marathon all the previous shows. Spider Jeopardy is also one of my favorite shows. Also, next month's gift exchange is one of my favorites.
Oh,
I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to that in December when we record that.
That'll officially be
speaking of-
Ashley's fifth year.
It's hard to believe we've been doing that yearly tradition for a long time. What's another yearly tradition we do? Is there one besides those two?
well, you used to take live callers there occasionally, but
Because I couldn't avoid
Yeah.
not bringing.
There's the anniversary, isn't there?
Yeah, if we have an anniversary, I don't think I'll hit 500 this year. Or no, what? No, 600. 600.
Jeez, Douglas.
Oh, I see your cane,
Okay.
and also have a cane. Nice.
Yeah. And then here's another prop:
What's that?
authentic casino playing cards.
Oh, neat.
So
JR, you ready to start your so it goes JR, and who's got 833? Is that George or Ashley? George has the second one, then we close with Ashley. Okay. All right, you ready, JR?
yes, I am.
Okay, coming down in 3, 2. Hey, Crawl Spacers, welcome to our review show. We've got 3 issues we're going to tackle, 832 of Amazing to 834. And let's introduce the panel. We've got JR, the 2019 Spider Jeopardy winner. What's going on, sir?
Still basking in my triumph, but I think I'll avoid the dancing. I think I pulled something. So
Yeah, no doubt. If you would like to see JR dancing, go to the very end of Spider Jeopardy to see whatever that was.
a man having a stroke.
That other voice you hear is broadcasting live from the Vegas Las Vegas, Nevada. What's going on, Spider
From
Jeopardy?
the Flamingo Hotel and Resort in Las
Flamingo.
Vegas, Nevada. The Spider Jeopardy bridesmaid, because I lost
Came in
5
second
points.
place.
5 points.
5 points. You did well, though. I very good. I
Thank you, sir.
was impressed with your showing. The man who put it all together, George, Spider Jeopardy writer, started in September. Took a couple months to write it. Congratulations. Those were great questions. Thank you, George.
Thank you. And now that you've mentioned the winner right at the top of this podcast, that automatically means you're going to release this podcast before Spider Jeopardy, because I know you and you'll do it.
I'll really. So
I
This
know
one-
you, and that's what's going to happen.
this
now.
one will have the spoiler of the. Yeah, I see it. No, I
So
won't.
don't
Okay.
do that, Douglas.
I won't do
Prove
that.
him
No.
wrong.
It is,
Prove
we've
him wrong.
we just guaranteed that's going to happen now.
Prove it wrong.
Well, George, you put it out in the universe, things happen. We also have returning from an exile on a Belize island. Evidently, she was with the Hobgoblin. Remember that question?
Hobgoblin it wasn't in Belize because the Hobgoblin was on Isla Suerta.
Like, that, isn't that an island
God
in the
almighty.
Jurassic Park? Okay.
It's Isla
No,
Nublar.
that's Isla Nublar and
I'm
Isla
sorry.
Sorna.
Ashley, the fans have missed you. Welcome back.
I'm back. I was not in Belize or anything nearly as exciting. I was just, life. But
There you go.
or sick.
One time she was
Real,
in the
real
weather.
quick, what do you think of the Black Cat solo book? It's I think it's not bad.
I have been enjoying it. I'm not
Yeah.
not quite as caught up with it as I need to be. I still can't get over the god awful art from the first book. I'm
It's
traumatized.
getting better.
by it.
And have you read the
Oh.
annual yet? She's marrying Peter
No, I haven't
Parker on the
gotten to
cover.
it. I know, yeah. I've seen that cover leak for so long, and I'm like,
She was trying to
I
destroy.
never want to get like baited by those covers. I'm like, I know I'm just gonna be disappointed, especially ever since the What If, where it was like, what if Peter married Felicia and she just dies in the end? I'm like,
Yeah.
That's
let's
every
stop
what
there,
if.
guys.
And also, they announced that there's going to be a PS4 Black Cat miniseries. What do you think of that?
Oh man, if we get more of that Felicia, I'm all for it.
Awesome. All right,
That's
now
right.
that we've talked Black Cat, we've caught up since June. JR Absolute Carnage tie-in ASM 832, aka Norman in a symbiote suit. Go.
All right. All right, as you know, boy, as Brad already said, boys and girls, this is an absolute garbage tie-in, and I tell you, this is for some of us old-time fans. This was a interesting one to open up to, because the first few pages are pretty well a panel-by-panel and dialogue accurate representation of the first few pages of Amazing Spider-Man number 121. Mary Jane and Gwen, and then ultimately Peter come to Harry's side after he is OD'd. Although it's kind of interesting that they don't say what the drug he overdosed on this time around is, because I guess LSD is not a hip drug to overdose on anymore. So Harry's had an overdose, and Peter goes in to see him where Gwen and Mary Jane are already there, and then Norman is there to greet him, and is just going completely out of his mind, because this was nearing the end. This was nearing Norman's first end, and he blames Spider-Man or Peter for all of Harry's problems, and then the scene shifts to the battle we saw last issue with Norman Osborn and the Carnage symbiote laying down a serious whooping on Spider-Man. And while little Normie Osborn and the previously non-existent plot device known as Eddie Brock's son, are holed up in a closet because old Norm wants little Norman's Codex, because that's the watch that everybody wears. The cheap watch that everybody wears in Marvel is the Codex watches.
I thought it was wetware.
Those are expensive ones. So, so they want the Codex. I guess it's in your spine or whatever, because Carnage wants all the Codexes, and everyone who ever wore Carnage symbiote has got one, and he's going to summon the god crawl or whatever, and everybody's going to come out in horses shooting lasers because that's so stupid. But anyway, kind of like a old bad 1980s
Man,
movie.
is he dogging?
Man, I like the Venom book, but JR has no interest in it.
You know,
And hey, Cole was. We talked about this.
No.
Oh, I thought you said Cole.
He does. He hasn't read it. It's Null.
K-N-U-L-L.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway,
The K is silent.
so this god is going to come down, like I said, riding horses and shooting lasers or whatever, and ripped off some kind of ripped off story, very 80ish. But anyway, so then the scene shifts back to the our amazing 121 retread, where Norman chases the gang out of the house, and they ponder what's driven to Harry to his current state, and then we go to Ravencroft Asylum, where the Scentademon is continuing his monologuing while Norman is straitjacketed in a padded cell. And Scentademon is saying, well, Norman, you'll always have that victory. And he's referring to the death of Gwen Stacy. And that Scentademon says that Norman is the only man who hates Peter as much as he does, although he can't figure out why Norman hates Peter so much. But not only does he, Scentademon, he makes it clear that he has reasons for hating Peter Parker, but he also has reasons for wanting Norman Osborn to pay for all of his sins. And then, of course, Scentademon says, well, ultimately it wouldn't be right if you killed Spider-Man while you still thought you were Cleus Cassidy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull a Star Trek to the Wrath of Khan on you, and I'm going to send some little squiggly thing to go into your ear canal or whatever. So, but anyway, since this, so I think if I get it right, Scentademon's visit to Norman takes place 2 weeks before this battle that's going on. Okay, so we go back to the battle, and the Spider-Man's laying near death, and all these events are playing through his mind, and let's see here, and it gives him this. Wait a minute, where did I? Okay, I forgot the paragraph. Forgot the part where actually Norman is precluded from killing Spider-Man because once we see in the insane asylum, we see the Scentademon beetle, whatever thingy, Wrath of Khan thingy, go into his ear. Then Norman is unable to administer the killing blow because something's scrambled in his brain, messing with his brain. So he says, well, since I can't kill Spider-Man, I'll go kill the two boys. But, anyway, so Peter relives 121 and 122, and he gets the strength to rise up and beat Norman Osborn, because that's what Peter does. He reflects back on somebody dying or some old issue or whatever, and he gives him the strength to beat the villain, or it gives him the strength to lift a bunch of a collapsed building that's fallen on top of him.
It's called continuity strength. What do you think? Should we name it here?
So anyway, back at the asylum, Scentademon tells Norman that he's leaving. And he says, Norman, though, when we meet again, you're going to be yourself, and we'll all be one big happy family. And here we go. This is a quote. And Scentademon will watch as I will pry your eyes open and make you watch everything that ever mattered to you burn in the flames of hell. And I'll kiss your tears as they fall and whisper back the promises you made yourself when you did those evil things. A little bit overwritten there. And I will show you that it wasn't worth it, that you achieved nothing. Well, then as he turns away, Norman goes, you, or actually Cassidy does. Norman / Cassidy says that, it's Cassidy talking, but it's like he hears Norman's voice in his head. Norman's voice was really excited when Scentademon came. And he says, well, you know what? There's nothing, I've got a message from Norman. There's nothing that you can do that will make me regret the choices that I've made. But every man wants a legacy, and you have proven beyond all odds to be my legacy, and I am so proud of you. You know, and then Norman Cassidy laughs while Senna Demon walks away. And then, next issue, we begin another stupid-ass crossover event.
Okay. What's your grade, JR?
I give it a B+.
A B+. Zach?
This is an A.
An A. Ashley?
B-.
George?
B-.
B out of me. JR, your pros.
Well, I like the flashbacks to 121. I mean, you feel like I just feel like this is building towards something.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and it's going to be a major event that involves not just Peter but Norman as well. So, it's kind of got me anticipatory. So I would say that's my big pro. And just, I mean, the slavish devotion to Amazing 121.
JR, do you think it's Harry Osborn, Kindred?
Boy, it is just so obvious, but therefore it can't be. And I was debating whether or not it could be Flash because, Norman killed Flash, and Norman would probably, remember, Flash, in his egomania and lording it over everybody. And, I thought that was one reason why Senta Demon was upset when Peter drew Felicia into this whole thing. Because, maybe there was a residual part of Flash in him, but it seems like it's so obvious that it's Harry that it can't be Harry.
I agree.
Hey, JR, is Norman Cassidy, is Normandy an acceptable nickname?
Normandy.
Normandy.
Normandy
is
almost sounds like a rapper. Normandy.
So Cletus Cassidy, refresh me, Zach, since you're reading Venom, and I don't know if Ashley is or not. Is Cletus Cassidy in Cletus Cassidy's body, or is the spirit of Cletus Cassidy in Norman? Or is Norman just crazy in this?
Both. My understanding is that part of Cassidy's essence is connected to Null, and Symbio Bro would be the guy to ask this question, truthfully. But during the final slot issue, that's what kind of combined Cassidy and Norman. And Cassidy kind of took the elements of Cassidy took over through the Carnage symbiote. So
Right.
Cassidy's body is being used by Null, but part of his psyche attached itself to Norman.
Okay, so to get Cletus 100%, we got to get the
Norman
bits
and
of-
Norman and Cassidy
Cletus.
back. Yeah,
Okay, and then get Null back wrapped in the symbiote
which
planet.
is basically how they're going to probably do it. Basically, the
Okay.
symbiote's going to go away from Norman, and once it goes away from Norman, Norman's going to go back to being Norman.
Crazy. Yeah. Okay, any other pros, JR, before we open it up?
No, I mean, that was pretty well it. Yeah.
Yeah. Any other pros? Let's hear them.
Since I had the highest grade, this artwork by Will Sliney is just freaking phenomenal.
No, not Will Sliney. It's
not Will Sliney.
Ryan
This is-
Otley.
Ryan
There's
Otley.
Otley,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Otley. My bad.
Will
I don't-
Sliney's a good artist, though.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. No, this artwork by Otley is absolutely some of the best artwork we've got in the last several years. I just like how we get this Silence of the Lambs vibe with this version of Norman being in the padded cell. You kind of like I could see a young Anthony Hopkins playing a great Norman. But like I say, I think I just really enjoyed how effortless, and I said this last month a little bit, but how effortlessly Spencer was able to take an event such as Absolute Carnage and really make this a non-essential story. You don't have to be reading this. It's an essential story for Amazing Spider-Man that happens to involve Absolute Carnage. But if you're reading Absolute Carnage, it's really not the most essential story to read.
Mhm.
But hopefully, those people that are just reading the symbiote books will come over and read ASM and vice versa.
Yeah, I agree. Ashley, what's something you gave it a B- if I remember correctly?
B-.
Yeah. What's pro? What did you like about it?
I think most of my pros are in line with JR's. That I like that it feels like it's building up to something. I am kind of surprised with how long Scented Demon Dude's been kept a mystery. With I know he's introduced back in Slots Run, and with how quickly stuff blew over with some of Slot's events. I kind of expected it to just be forgotten by now, but he's still a really integral part of the story. There's like some legitimate mystery around him, and I'm really interested in what he's doing. So I liked how this issue gave us more to kind of, you know, again, piggybacking off what JR said, building the anticipation for what that ultimate reveal is going to be.
It's a legit mystery, and I don't think we've had one of those. They tried to do they tried to do that with Menace, which was a copy of the
basically
copy of the Hobgoblin.
Yeah, it was zero. I mean, we haven't had a really good mystery.
Yeah,
in a long time.
Since the Hobgoblin, I give you that.
There's the actual defense.
And there's actual anticipation of trying to find out who it is.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, it's not like not the '90s where you had a mysterious person in the shadows all the time. It's really more, you know, I know some people like Matt Giovanni on our Facebook page, you know, he's griping about how long it's taken Spencer to get to this point, but we also got to realize we're just barely at a year publishing wise. We just now reached the first year of this arc. I still think we got another 6 months to go.
Yeah.
I mean, the Hobgoblin mystery, which we would keep referring to, went on a lot longer than that.
Yeah. And
I think maybe this is wrapping up around issue 50. I
would bet.
I think that issue, the 50th issue, which would be what 851, would be a really or could be issue 49. Yeah, 850.
What about 850? That'd be good.
That'd be a nice round number, and then you can just go back to the regular numbering. Screw the.
Oh God, we'll do another one, number one. They'll do
no, another one. We just continue on with the legacy numbering without the.
Nah, they do 850 and then do a number one again. You know, Marvel, come on.
Right, well, at least they're still doing the legacy numbering, and if they're going to do this needless relaunch BS, just include the legacy numbering and move on.
George, go ahead, Zach.
Go ahead, George.
George, some pros out of you.
I like the artwork, like JR. I like the callbacks to 121. You know, that was a lot of fun. Past that, I mean, like Ashley, and I've said, you know, I'm engaged in the mystery of the Scented Demon of what is it, Kindred?
Yeah,
Kindred, Scented Demon, whatever we want to call him.
There was more than one issue callback, George, that I imagine you liked, that I liked.
Yeah. Like I said, and I like the callbacks. I just they feel kind of lost on being tied into a crap symbiote event.
Well, the callback was of Secret Wars.
Yeah,
with him and the machine.
Him at the symbiote coffee machine. Yeah,
the symbiote coffee machine,
where the turd falls out.
Yeah, but
I have a question.
While I like that stuff, I'm just it's symbiote stuff. I mean, like there's Venom stuff. This is because you know me. I don't like any of the symbiote crap. Venom was an interesting character before brains nom nom, and before the symbiote stuff just went bananas.
Yeah,
right.
It is bananas.
But Carnage is the nadir of symbiote storytelling. He really is. I mean, he had one interesting first appearance, you know, back in the day, back in the early 90s. And then everything after that, everything past that has been pure, complete crap. And I'm so sick of Spider-Man comics continually being drugged into these stupid ass symbiote crossovers. I'm just done. I can't be bothered with it. I just
Zach and I are defending Absolute Carnage, which is Ryan Stegman producing some.
I'm sure it looked great. Stegman's fantastic,
and also Donny Cates is doing a hell of a job. I think Dominion is awesome.
here's the thing that the Venom title right now is trying to accomplish, and not a lot of bad writers.
I don't care if I wanted that. If I wanted that, I'd go read a Venom comic. I don't want it in my Amazing Spider-Man.
Will you let me finish?
No.
More favor. My point is what Donny Cates is trying to do is he's trying to establish a mythology for Venom, because Venom, as a character standing on his own,
I agree.
is solely dependent on Spider-Man right now.
Everyone tries to come up with
But
that for Venom.
This one actually works.
But
He's doing a good job.
They're doing. Look, they're trying to craft a story that develops Eddie Brock from being just a one-note, one-dimensional character.
Yep.
And they've done a remarkable job in making me emotionally invested in Eddie.
Yes.
Whereas I didn't give a damn about Eddie Brock before this run, I actually give a crap about Eddie now.
Yep. Cates does a great job on this, and also Guardians of the Galaxy does a really good job on too.
And I think that this event, if it had been like every other, most of the other events have involved like one of the satellite titles. Like Friendly Neighborhood probably would have been involved in this event normally. But that's why I think it's so impressive about Spencer, is that where some people like George on face value would probably have dismissed these two issues.
Still do.
Completely, you wouldn't even have picked him up. But because you picked him up, he made it worth it. And that's what I think was impressive about Spencer this time.
I look at it this way. Spencer did the best that he could at not letting it derail the main story and trying, to make it make sense for the main story. But at the same time, I have to wonder, is the overall story, once we get to the end of all of this, will it have been enriched by Carnage's presence? Really?
No, I'll say this.
Okay, then we don't need it. And we don't have it. Spencer doesn't have a choice. I mean,
right.
He's going to do what Marvel wants him to do. Marvel says, no, we have to push this symbiote crossover because, it's symbiote stuff and it's our fetish. We have to rub our junk on it. But the overall story, it doesn't need it. It doesn't need it. It's just wasting time.
But I think, in the grand scheme of things, we used 5-6 pages of a symbiote story because of having Norman attach the symbiote. That's the only, basically this is more of Spencer trying to clean up Slott again, in a way that I just felt like was really extremely well crafted. But the one question I have for the whole panel, we criticized Slott a lot for continuity porn. With these callbacks to these old issues that we've seen with Spencer in these two issues, would it be considered continuity porn, or
not the stuff he was highlighting? No. I mean, the way Spencer does it, it's not as gratuitous as the way Slott does it. Spencer will do it and make it part of organic storytelling. Slott did it to try to point out, "Ooh, hey, look, I know what this thing is. See, I know more than Spider-Man about anybody else. Hey, look, I'm the guy that finally gave you that Spider-Man Bullseye fight, even though we'd already had one years and years earlier." So no, it's not the same thing.
Which to not that I'm going to completely defend Slott, but let's face it, that was during the Mackie Byrne reboot, and nobody remembers that anyway.
Doesn't matter. It happened.
I know.
Somebody who likes to crow about how much continuity porn they know should have known that.
All right, I agree.
Cons. Let's move on to cons, JR.
Well, the Carnage story just does not interest me in the slightest. It doesn't interest me in the slightest. But the so I would, but I on the reverse of that, I can see it ending. I mean, for Norman, that is. I mean, I can see the clear end. I mean, Joshua is wondering, if I'd grade the story lower because of that the Carnage symbiote or Cassidy is still attached to Norman. And it's like, no, because I see the end of it. I mean, because Senator Demon's already said that he's going to be back to normal. So, I can tolerate a little bit more of this, but yeah, anything with Carnage is just, Cassidy is a boring villain. I mean, he's a boring ass villain. He's the same all the time. And honestly, how many deviations of the symbiote story can you tell? I mean,
the symbiote.
It's like DC it's almost worse than DC continuity.
The symbiote reproducing is every bit as bad as Spider-Man having clones. it just replicates and replicates and replicates, and each one just gets poorer and poorer and poorer and poorer. It really is it's the nadir of Spider-Man storytelling. It really is.
Ashley, you gave it a kind of a lower grade. Oh, what's cons out of you?
For me, the biggest thing is that this issue just can't stand by its on its own. One, because it is wrapped up in this event that feels like, it came out of nowhere. It's not really tied to the current plot or character arcs we have developing already outside of, Kindred and his involvement. Two, like, it feels like the actual content that we had in this that wasn't, a flashback or looking back at anything was entirely dependent on Kindred standing in the same spot, monologuing to the same person. So there's just very, very little actually happening. And then three, I tend to not like this in any kind of narrative when the majority of the exposition is told through flashback and exposition through dialogue. That's just weak storytelling. They're not the best methods to really stay active. And it created this, like, it was this weird braid almost where we had the one timeline where Kindred is talking to Norman at Ravencroft, and then that was like flashing back, interwoven with flashbacks to when Norman was Carnage and attacking Peter and the two boys, and then the flashbacks to issue 121 and how that all tied together. It's like it did all tie together ultimately, but it was just a lot of looking back, and every time we moved forward, nothing was happening. So it that makes it to me feel a lot like padding and filler. So.
Okay. Other cons. George listed a bunch of anti-symbiote cons. Zach, any cons out of you?
I wish they would have resolved the Norman situation in ASM. That's one thing that I feel like should have been resolved in ASM and not in the bigger event. That's probably my biggest con with this story. I'd would like to have seen a resolution to that. Yeah. Just because I just feel like that because it started in ASM, to me it should have ended in ASM and not in Absolute Carnage number 5. It's to me that's assuming that people are going to read Absolute Carnage. Not everybody's going to do that. It's not everybody's cup of tea, and so to me, I just feel like that because of that's why I didn't give it like an A plus, A plus. I just, like I say, I think that we have gotten so used to bad storytelling in tie-in issues that it's refreshing to see good storytelling done in a tie-in issue for once.
True.
So,
yeah, and I've said this.
You kind of real quick. Sorry, George.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
You reminded me that seeing this not resolve, your point about this not resolving in the main story, in the main Spider-Man line, this issue to me read like something that we would have gotten in one of the spin-off series, Web of Spider-Man or Spectacular Spider-Man back in the day. Right. Not something that you'd ever see in the main run of Spider-Man. So
the thing I was going to say about the tie-in and about the quality of it being it's a better quality tie-in than a low quality tie-in, and that's true. And that's to Spencer's credit. Mm-hmm. They can be attributed to the quality of Spencer's writing. And it made me think because at the same time I'm like, okay, well we have to have this tie-in event forced onto us. We don't want it. It's going to be forced onto us anyway. Shut up and eat your oatmeal. It made me think of like reading Spider-Man 2099 back when Peter David brought it back and watching how Peter David would do the best that he could
Yeah.
when Spider-Man 2099 would have to have a stupid ass crossover forced onto it by, and I can't remember which one it was now at this point.
It was the other.
Yeah, was it?
He started Friendly Neighborhood with the other. His very first issue of Friendly Neighborhood was a crossover.
I'm thinking like the last several years, like when he was doing when he brought back 2099 with Sliney.
Oh, he was interrupted with Secret Wars by Hickman.
Yeah, God.
Yeah, 2099. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
Yeah.
so in that regard, Spencer is a lot like Peter David in that they're going to do the best they can with having a crossover event forced onto them, especially when it interrupts the main story. But at least with those two writers, it's going to be good writing. They're going to give it their best game to try to make it sense and not have a derail whatever it is they're going on. I think the main reason is Marvel just stop foisting on stupid event crossovers onto the rest of our comics. Stop it. Stop.
Yeah.
This is a practice from the last 20 years that we need to let die.
Of crossovers?
Yeah. Crossover.
Well, yeah,
huge event comics.
The event that started these things. Do you remember? It's longer than 20 years.
That's why I said the last 20 years.
Secret Wars 2. That's what started it.
I'm going back. No, Brad, I'm going back to those are fine. I look back because here's the thing. Those were the exception, not the norm in the 80s.
Okay.
In the late 80s. That wasn't happening all over the place. It just had back then when those two things kicked off, there wasn't a lot of other crossovers happening. Every now and then if it was told in like a limited series. Like you might have the X-Men and when they had their X-Men, what was it? X-Men crossover and they were like in Asgard. That was wonderful. It was like a 4-issue limited series, fantastic. Now that would be an event that would take an entire year, cross over into every goddamn other comic,
right,
and go on for way too long and have 197 parts and at the end of the day over 600 variants.
To me, there's one thing like it's not as bad as it used. Like this year we had, what was it, War of the Realms that
War of the
was
Realms.
like that, where it infested itself into everything. To me, we had Marvel needs to give let's have a year without a major event. Let's just let these guys tell their stories. And if you want to tie into other people's stories, great. But let's not make it these. It's one of the problems I had with Slott was nothing will ever be the same again.
Yeah, but I mean, and Slott's defense, that's not Slott. That's Marvel.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Marvel, Slott was really bad about it on ASM.
Slott, don't get me wrong, Slott would get on there and regurgitate that crap on Twitter.
Right.
Yeah.
I just feel like that. Give a directive if you're Cebulski. Give a directive, and just let your guys tell the stories. Because right now, like those of us that were reading Venom and enjoying Venom and enjoying Stegman on art, we had to pull Stegman off to go do this big event, and so we had to get a very much inferior artist to do Venom. I'd rather it just be tell the story in Venom. You want to do some tie-in books, cool, but again, don't drag other let ASM do its thing. Let Venom do its thing. Let
Real quick,
2099 do its
before we
thing.
go on to the next book, I want to ask the Spider Jeopardy 2019 champion, since he knows all the history. Jeffrey in YouTube chat says, "Is this the first time Peter was able to defeat Carnage single-handedly without any helps or tricks?" Do you know, JR?
No, I don't.
Yes. Because I mean, every time, because when you look back, I mean, first appearance he had Venom, second appearance was Maximum Carnage, and he had half the Marvel universe. Third appearance was, I think, Silver
Surfer.
Carnage Cosmic. So he had Silver Surfer there. I think during the Mackie Byrne reboot, didn't he have Venom again? Like every time he has to bring Venom in because you can't have Venom without Carnage. Like you can't have Carnage without Venom. So. One-on-one, mano-y-mano. The
First time in 30 years Spider-Man single-handedly beat Carnage. But that's only because Norman Osborn was in the suit. Because he's whooped Norman's butt a few times, right?
Of course. You could put an asterisk there because he did have the Venom symbiote as well.
All right, let's
Real,
move on to.
real quick, Brad. Real quick. I want to speak to something that Spidey Dude said. I don't think this is a Cebulski thing. I think Cebulski would be happy as a pig in mud to let these guys be able to tell their stories without being interrupted by crossover. I think this is a Buckley thing.
It's all about sales.
I think it's just a Buckley thing.
Yeah, I agree. Or Alan Fine, or both.
Yeah.
Moving on to ASM 833. George has this one. We have one of the new pencilers on it, which I like.
Yeah, Patrick Gleason did a really good job.
Really good job.
Yeah.
I'm almost. Do you? I think I might like him better than Otley. I don't know.
No,
No,
You don't?
no.
Why? I mean,
I'm not saying that.
We'll get into that in a second.
I'm not saying that Otley is better or Gleason's better. I'm not saying that either way. I like them both. They have different styles, but I like them both. But I prefer Otley as the penciler right now.
I really like Gleason too.
And I like because Spencer is doing such a good job right now, and I like it when the writer's knocking it out of the park and he has a consistent artist. And there's that flow there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So
it's good to alternate if this book comes out twice a month to have two really strong.
yeah,
artists.
no, it would be and he Gleason would be fantastic to have him.
So take me through.
As far as I understand, Gleason is the full-time artist with Otley.
That's what I understand
and then
too.
they'll have some.
Because Ramos is out.
Then
Yeah,
that's
Ramos
fine.
is done.
Yeah, then that's fine.
Yeah.
Gleason is does really good work here.
Mhm.
But no, it starts off with a fire at a Roxxon oil platform, explosions everywhere. A portal opens up into the sky. And you see, I don't know what this is. I'm sorry. Some sort of suddenly I'm a Native American storyteller. I can get away with that because I'm an Osage. All right, I can actually use like Osage words like "what you say," "what I and I'm like, anyway. So yeah, this brilliant light appears over the platform, and then immediately we go to Lila and her spectacular cleavage, trying to wake Miguel up, yelling at him to wake up while he's on an operating table with like weird ass like science goons all around him, getting ready to dissect him. You hear some shadowy men in the next room, Roxxon guys, talking about, what a disappointment this oil platform catastrophe is. It's a guy had to cancel his trip to Martha's Vineyard to go talk to the Senate because of it. And the one guy points out while they're talking, he's like, the guy that we have here, because they're watching Miguel get operated or about to get operated on. And he points out that he's from 2099. And the rest of them are like, the future? What? And the guy's like, yeah, think about it. Think of all the discoveries we can make when we biopsy this guy. And, think of all the patents, he's like, he's like Mr. Burns talking about patenting the technology they can get from maybe dissecting Miguel. We go over back to Empire State University. Peter's daydreaming about Mary Jane and having day nightmares about the Kingpin, also about Kindred. He's in a study group, and we're finally getting to the point where Peter is addressing, the steps he's taking to rectify the whole doctorate thing.
Yeah.
Which is something that, of course, Spencer reestablished, like when he came onto the book. And he had, he had the Lizard, basically going to bat for Spider-Man, saying, let's give him a second chance. So Peter's with a study group here. Actually, has the one guy threaten him, is like, look, this is important to us. Don't be plagiarizing anything. Another guy named Jamie shows up. Looks like I don't know. His name's Jamie. Looks like a douchebag. I don't know. And he's got a webware watch on. From Peter's, from Parker Industries. And there's a brief one-panel explanation about all of that. And the thing is supposed to the guy is describing it, Peter's like, oh my God, does that work? And he's like, nah, not really, not as intended, but it gives me alerts whenever there's like a national emergency or something. So they talk in their study group for a while. They're talking about the accelerator program, I guess, that they're working on at the university. And then Peter's like, Peter suggests cloning as a
Yeah.
supplement to fill in. And I'm like, no, stop.
Mhm.
Somebody reach over and slap him. But then, sure enough, alarm bells go off. There's everyone gets up from the table. Oh God, fire alarm? What's going on? There's a guy, a hipster guy with a beard and a mohawk.
Looks like Guy Fieri.
Yeah, trying to herd people out of the library. He does,
Mm-hmm.
but they're trying to herd
Get
people out
him
of the
to
library.
down.
And Jamie, points out that the webware doesn't go off when there's an emergency, and he's like, and even says, "Can't believe the webware didn't work again." Actually, I can. And I was like, yeah, that's I took that as kind of an inside wink, as that yes, the Parker Understates thing was ravagely stupid.
Yeah.
Yes. Speaking of ravagely stupid, we have Teresa, who has set the fire alarm off to come in and get Peter, and take Peter away so that Peter, while Peter's back at his first day at school, trying to progress forward with his life. But no, Teresa can't have that. So the two of them wind up doing surveillance. They're on a light post looking down at a meeting between Chameleon and the Foreigner.
Man, I haven't seen the Foreigner in a long time.
We thought the Foreigner was dead. When was the last time because the last time we saw the Foreigner, didn't he get killed?
Yeah,
I thought the last time we saw him was like in Spec Peter David era, 80s.
yeah. I'm almost positive he was killed like during the. I want to say it was during like the Name of the Rose era, Web of Spider-Man.
I thought the guy was dead.
Oh, 90s.
Yeah.
Okay.
And here he turns up looking like Garth,
Garth Brooks?
No.
Snack.
Who was the artist when Garth Ennis did The Punisher?
Oh, he's passed away. Steve Dillon.
He passed away?
Yeah, he's dead. He passed away. Yeah.
I think he passed away earlier this year.
Did he? Oh God, he was a really good artist. Shit.
Yeah.
But no, this guy's profile, the Foreigner's profile, reminded me of like a Steve Dillon Punisher for some reason.
Oh, that does. Yeah.
Yeah.
It really did, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I really liked the first one. By the time we got around to like the Russian with boobs, I was like, I'm out, dog.
Yeah.
You lost me.
By the way, Foreigner, former lover of Felicia Hardy, right?
Yes.
Actually,
Yep.
yeah.
And the source of my favorite costume of Felicia's, where she melts down these 2 gold trophies he has and forges them into these revenge pauldrons on this leather jacket she has over a white jumpsuit, and it's the best thing ever.
It was a total 80s costume. It really
It
was.
was.
That was
Really
an
was.
awful 80s costume.
I
I'm
love
sorry,
it.
Ashley.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh,
No, Steve Dillon died 3 years ago.
yeah, 3 years
3
ago.
years ago. Yeah.
Of
How did I-
a ruptured appendix. Yikes.
Oh.
I had that. Oh my God, I had that just about 3 years ago. Remember when I had my appendix taken out? That was
Yeah.
around the same time. Yeah, and I had the same thing, ruptured appendix. Jesus,
That escalated quickly.
yikes! Oof. I never knew. Yeah, I didn't hear that. That sucks. He was good.
54 years old.
He was a good artist.
I agree.
All right. So the Foreigner shows up. Chameleon is about to. Looks like they're having some kind of like. What is this thing called? The Infinity Formula.
Mhm.
Some
Mhm.
kind of. They didn't really explain. Has this shown up before? Do we know what this is? And I just
Yeah,
don't remember it.
That's what kept Nick Fury young
Yeah.
all those years.
Is
ago.
that what that is? That what
Yeah.
that is? I thought it was called
Yeah.
something else. I thought
Wasn't
it
it
was like
tied into Captain America's stuff too?
no, that was Super
Yeah.
Soldier.
I thought
Super
the
Yeah,
Soldier,
it was,
I
it was
know.
an
I-
attempt to recreate the super soldier serum, and they came
Right.
up with the
Okay, I guess I did.
Infinity, yeah.
Infinity formula.
I guess it's been so long since I read like early Cap or like any of the Steranko stuff. I guess I just kind of lose track of some of that stuff. But yeah, Chameleon's got like a case of it, the Infinity Formula. So Foreigner can, I guess, presumably
Never die.
never die. Although he says later he's got a buyer, so I guess he's just acting as a middleman. But either way, Spider-Man jumps in along with Teresa, who's now apparently the Wasp. Whatever.
Yeah,
Does
no,
she-
she got those. She got those in spec.
Does she have a name, or is she just, or she just uses like
Teresa.
oh look, I've got wings. I'm like,
What
a
is it,
wasp.
Ashley? I forget.
TP.
TP. Teresa Parker toilet
Ah.
paper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
So she swings in with her falcon / wasp wings, which because comics, I guess, I don't know.
She got those from Shield during the
Zdarsky.
Zdarsky spec run.
So we have Zdarsky to thank for that.
Yes,
Yeah.
we do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Mark Wade for introducing her in Family Business, the graphic
Yeah.
novel.
Yeah. So Spider-Man comes in, starts beating ass because it's Spider-Man. Yes.
Yes.
And then they sick an army of jack-o'-lanterns on them. Guys that look like they're wearing literal jack-o'-lantern heads, like Mackindale used to roll. with
Yeah,
back in the
old
day.
school Mackindale jack-o'-lantern.
And but some kind of souped-up new suits.
Of course.
So Spider-Man and Not Wasp are fighting them.
TP.
And Spider-Man eventually she starts going after Chameleon. And Spider-Man's like, oh, she's got kind of a vendetta. She's out for revenge. Well, hell yeah, they killed the guy that she was rolling in the sheets with. What was his name? Who cares? No one cares. All right, so
Plot
Roll.
device.
Rolling in the streets. More
So-
like rolling in the TP.
Foreigner's like, you know what? Fine, let's just do this. I'll get my hands dirty. And so credit the Foreigner. Foreigner's like, just starts rolling up his sleeves. Is like, all right, I'll beat Spider-Man's ass. I was like, okay, wow.
Zero-
Mono
Foreigner
mono,
gives zero
baby.
F's right now.
I'm like the Stones on this guy.
I know,
All
right?
Sure. I'm like, I mean, he's fought Heralds of Galactus and Juggernaut before. Sure, Slugger, get out there, see what you got. I'm like, all right, fine. Who's a big boy? Who's wearing big boy pants today?
Yeah.
So he starts fighting Spider-Man, and he actually does. He actually does pretty good.
Yep.
Yeah, he's got a form. It's almost like an anticipatory kind of a form where he's like, it's more like dodging and trying to let Spider-Man put himself in bad situations. And finally, he gets a hold of Spider-Man's arm, and then just kind of has him in a lock. But then before he can do anything, he gets blasted from behind by Silver Sable. Silver Sable shows up and shoots Spider-Man. Doesn't shoot Foreigner, shoots Spider-Man, which I thought was sad. I didn't like that. And it turns out she's the one that's, I guess, trying to buy the Infinity formula.
Yeah.
And which you're like, what? But then, I mean, when you're as hot as Silver Sable, I mean, it makes sense. Why would you want to age? Right? Just live forever. Sempre Vita. She's going to be like Death Becomes Her. She'll be falling apart and start to paint herself up. No, okay. Meanwhile, we go back to Miguel. Miguel's thinking, trying to retrace the steps of what happened in 2099. It looks like 2099 got erased from what it looks like from Miguel's memories by Doom 2099, who we still don't know who that is, do we?
No, the crossover hasn't. Oh, you mean from the 90s show?
Yeah,
90s
no.
comic?
Yeah, the
I thought-
90s coming.
I thought it was actually Victor, time displaced version of Victor Von Doom.
I don't remember how it ended.
I don't think they definitively said who it was.
I don't think they did either.
I remember liking that book a lot back in the day.
Doom 2099 was interesting. It was way
Yeah.
better than the one than the guy with the trash man.
Ravage?
Sadly, the one that Stan Lee did.
I know. The original. Can you imagine? They were originally going to have Steve Ditko pencil that. They pitched
Yeah,
it,
I remember
and
that.
Ditko passed.
Yeah, I remember that.
Ditko passed, and they gave it to Paul Ryan.
I remember that.
Yeah.
And I wanted to like it because
Another
it was
artist
Stan,
who
but I was
passed.
like, I don't know. There's only so many ways you can make Garbage Man interesting.
Yeah,
I know. But no, yeah. So Spidey, or Spidey 2099 is starting to recount these things in his head, and he calls it the end of everything. And he wakes up. He starts calling out for Peter while they're about to push a needle into his eye.
I know, right?
And he's like, Peter, or no, he's like, Parker, where is he? And the guy that's about to jab him in the head with a needle is like, sorry, excuse me. And he's like, where is he? And they're like, hey, try to relax, buddy. You're on an operating table. We're about to do gruesome things to you. Why don't do you want a Shasta or something? How about you just get comfy? But and you have the shadowy guy and the shadowy Roxxon guys in suits, watching on, saying, don't worry, there's nothing to worry about. He can't get us in here. And of course the door comes flying off because it's Miguel, and Miguel does whatever the hell Miguel wants to do. But rather than beating ass, Miguel's really just mainly more concerned with trying to escape.
Yeah.
So he's briefly fighting goons. Finally, he crashes through the window.
Look at that panel. I love that panel.
Oh, I love that panel too. There's one thing Miguel loves to do: it's crash through windows.
Yeah.
Miguel has a long history of crashing through windows and have it be great.
Mhm.
And then suddenly he's outside. Oops, he's on a skyscraper. And he's like, okay, well, and he starts trying to claw at the walls. He can't, and his powers aren't working. And he's like, suddenly he's falling, and he's like, I can't even remember how to glide right now, which is, there's nothing I liked more than gliding, and I can't even remember how to do it right now.
Yeah.
And all I can think about as he's falling is finding Peter, and then he smashes onto the top of a taxi cab. And it's just laying there like, oh, I could have had a V8.
Instead, you got a V8 engine on that taxi.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, the taxi.
So this one, this was a fun issue.
Your grade?
I gave this one an A-.
Okay. Ashley, what's your grade?
A- as well.
JR?
I gave it a D.
A D. Zach, who's not at the table. I don't know. We'll have to come back to him later. B- out of me. I like the last issue a little bit better. George, for prose.
I like the artwork. I like the writing. I like Miguel. I always like Miguel.
Yeah.
It's Miguel.
Yeah.
I always like Spider-Man.
In his blue costume, not that ugly white one.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah, not in that horror. That was one of the things. That was one of the problems at the when they tried to kind of revamp the new Peter David
Yeah.
run on. They gave him
I
that
like it.
stupid new costume, which I mean, I couldn't. I remember at the time I gave up reading it, and I was like, you know what, here. And I think Javi took it over, and because I was like, I can't even look at this thing anymore. I don't even know what's going on anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a little more old school Miguel. Which I like. I like Lila being here. I like Lila's cleavage. I was a big fan of that. Yeah,
If
10 out of
memory-
10 cleavage.
Is she still supposed to look like Marilyn Monroe?
I
or
was just
not?
going to say,
Yeah.
I mean,
yes.
Mhm.
Marilyn Monroe.
At a default level, yeah, she can change her appearance, but default
At a
she's supposed to look like
default.
Marilyn.
Yeah.
Looks like Marilyn Monroe. What did I actually say?
She goes,
Or like a double default.
double default.
Double default. Hey, yo. But yeah,
That's
no,
funny.
I liked it. I liked the story. It interested me and intrigued me enough to see where it's going. I like that Peter's taking steps again to try to further himself and get back to a place where he was legitimately, unlike,
Yeah.
remember, this is one of our biggest complaints about Slott, and it was one of the best legitimate, well, I say best legitimate, every point of criticism we had about Slott was legitimate. After Spock, after all of that, Peter just went right into Parker Industries, didn't care one bit that he'd gotten a doctorate he didn't deserve.
Yep.
Never even thought about it again. That was some of the poorest storytelling we've seen in Spider-Man. Because if there's one person that is going to feel guilty about that and obsess over it, it is Peter Parker. But Slott had a story to tell that had nothing to do with the character, so it was not brought up again until Spencer became a writer. Thank God. Thank you, Saint Spencer. So I like that. I like that we're trying that Peter's finally trying to settle into advancing himself that way. It won't work. It won't stick. We all know. We've been there. We're Parker fans. We know how this goes. But I did like it. I like the subtle digs. The guy's like, yeah, it's webware. It's a piece of crap. Doesn't work. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I
I thought you also liked the foreigner part. The
foreigner out of nowhere, man.
Yeah. Like, all right, let's do this. Come on.
I legitimately thought he was dead.
I mean,
Yeah.
the foreigner comes back, and then immediately everything just feels urgent. Get it? Get it?
Dun, 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 dun. All right, well done.
Urgent. Get it? Because it's foreigner.
Urgent.
Emergency! Urgent!
I feel like we need to get a saxophone solo going on.
And you guys are making fun of my dancing. I swear.
Well, it looked like you were having a seizure.
It looked like you were having a stroke, JR.
If people feel like they ought to
We,
call the hospital, it's not dancing anymore.
We went around the horn. We didn't get Zach's grade. What is your
My
grade?
apologies. I had to go to the restroom.
Sorry, I had to go pinch a
He's
loaf.
gonna give it a B for bathroom.
B for Banyo. This is
Banyo.
I was prairie dogging something fierce, y'all. Sorry, I had to get up and take care of business. Had a turtle head poking out. Had to go handle up. Back now with my grade.
No. All right. Good Lord. This went off the rails very quickly. B- for me.
B for Banyo. All right.
B for Banyo. I had to go to the Banyo.
Okay. Open up for more pros. What did you guys like about it? Ashley, what did you like about it? You gave it.
I
What did you give it,
mean, yeah.
Ashley?
Yeah, A-, same as
Yeah,
George.
that's right. You liked it a lot.
I'm happy to see Miguel like back as, you know, the 2099 that we love. And just I love this team up with what Patrick Gleason and Matthew Wilson. Like the colors are just, the art is to die for. And there's that one panel where we have Miguel's face by Lila's and like his memories where it's kind of fading, and then Dr. Doom, like that is like a poster right there. It was
Good looking art.
That bumped my grade up just that one page alone. But yeah, I'm always really excited. Just the aesthetic, I love Miguel. I'm really excited to see him again. I really liked how we opened on Peter's, getting back to Peter's school life and kind of like a simpler approach after, some of the other stuff. I'm really glad that we're getting a balance with Peter's kind of day-to-day life and some more of that slice of life that feels so native to Spider-Man. Right. In addition to the action adventure, when he's actually in the suit. So it felt like we got a good mix of all of that stuff in this issue.
Cool. Zach, what's some pros? Because I'm going to go straight to cons with JR in a minute because he gave it a D.
Yeah, because I've got some cons too, and I think.
Okay, we're still on pros though.
So, I like the artwork, but I'm going to get into some of my issues with it in a little bit. I like Silver Sable. Just because I'm in Vegas, baby, doesn't mean that I don't bring the prop.
You bought a Silver Sable Legend in Vegas?
No, I
think he brought it.
Wait.
You went to Vegas and you brought action figures with you.
What the hell? Really?
I threw it in my bag.
This is a town of topless bars and buffets, and you bring toys.
Did you bring it? Did you bring it for this episode specifically?
Yes, because we were going to talk about Silver Sable. I'm committed to my art craft.
Wow. Okay. Like they checked your bag and there was a Silver Sable in it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, all right, bam.
George, that's how committed he is to show props during this episode.
Oh, he ought to be committed, all right.
And he brought Kane in his bag too.
No, God, that's not a mark of sanity.
That's a mark of Kane, is what that is. Okay, cons. Let's go to cons, George. Teresa, I bet.
Yeah, I'm not.
I don't care for Teresa either.
I'm not on board with the whole Teresa thing. And Teresa would have, in my zeal of seeing Miguel back, if Miguel had not been back here, to see the continual seeing of Teresa probably knocks this down a little bit further than what I gave it. But I mean, it's Miguel, and I'm so happy I didn't even care that we had to suffer through Teresa. But seriously, we need to get rid of Teresa.
I agree.
We need to move. That's a loser either way you cut it. It's time. It's time. Let her go off. Let her do her. You don't have to kill her off. Let her go. Just let her be her own thing. Let her maybe let her hang out with Jessica Drew. Maybe they can be pals. Maybe they can go shopping.
Or that's the girlfriend you hate?
Carly?
Carly and Teresa can just go live on an island. What do you think?
Yeah, no, Carly needs to die. Carly legitimately needs to die. But Teresa, Teresa, just go away.
Kill Carly.
There you go. Teresa kills Carly and then goes to prison. Everyone's happy. Problem solved. So many problems solved.
Nice.
Now he can't use that storyline now. You guys realize that without having to pay it.
JR, D? Is that what you gave it?
Yeah.
Why? What's going on?
Well, we go from one event to another.
Yeah.
You know, we go from absolute garbage, and now we're into a 2099 event. So it's like, so we can't tell we can't tell Spider-Man stories. We got to have these stupid crossovers. You know, and Teresa, it's like, you know, I never minded the idea of Spider-Man having a sister because that's an old soap opera element. Is you know, relatives coming out from nowhere. I mean, you know, it happens, but it's like, to me, that character should be used for meaningful stories about the relationship, not her dropping in just periodically as part of a story or something. I mean, if she shows up, the story ought to be about them and their relationship, and, you know, not her being this ancillary character you can just bring in from time to time for grins. And I hate this study group. They're all a bunch of losers. You know, it just, you know, at any time the study group is on, it's just, you know, vomit inducing to me. They're just all douchebags.
JR, did you like 2099 back in the 90s?
You know, I was with it for the first year or so as they were starting to kind of build the future and how this future worked. But then it's like after the first year that it just kind of became, you know, stuff, you know, conventional superhero. I just felt the world building had stopped, you know. So I was, I mean, it was an intriguing idea, but
so not a big Miguel fan.
He's okay. I mean, he's okay. I like the costume. The costume's awesome, you know. But you know, it's an event. It's like, wait a minute, haven't we told this story before about the future being in trouble or something? You know, I mean, it's like it just seems like we're retreading old ground. I mean, and what's the point? The point is to try to get the 2099 line, reboot the 2099 line again. You know, how many times have they tried to resurrect that thing?
This is probably like third attempt.
Give it up. You know, give it up.
Yeah, I'm kind of in some of the ballpark with JR. I'm not nearly as jazzed for a 2099 crossover as I was for Absolute Carnage because I've been reading Venom. Now, of course, I'll be covering that on Spider Satellites, which you can get exclusively on patreon.com/crawlspace for $5. But I just feel like that I would have rather than waited a couple of months to do this 2099 crossover
back.
And then some more slice of life standard Spidey fare.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Any other cons before we move on? Okay. Let's move on to the next issue, which is ASM 834. Ashley, you've got this one.
All right. So this one continues the art from Patrick Gleason and Matthew Wilson, who are kind of like my new dream team now. So we pick up right where 833 left off, with Miguel having crashed onto the taxi cab, and he wakes up still all disoriented from the time travel and the displacement. He's been set upon by those purple dudes who've got P's on their uniforms, and so I'm going to call them Purple People Eaters, so I can't think of anything else. He shakes him off and runs off again, saying that he's got to find the Spider-Man of 2019, who is currently in like this poor man's Mexican standoff with Silver Sable and Teresa Parker. Silver Sable's pointing her gun at Peter or at Spider-Man, and Teresa Parker's behind Silver Sable pointing her gun at her. Ultimately, though, Teresa doesn't hesitate and splatters Sable's brains all over the asphalt brutally and in grisly detail, but it's like Silver Sable was a robot the entire time and just got her metal head blown off. The real Sable pulls up in a little minivan, and she's all bandaged and covered in burns, like her hair's all burned off, and she's just looking in pretty rough shape. She explains that, you know, how she survived, you know, she crashed into the ocean, got all burned up, but the foreigner was the one who found her and helped nurse her back to health. Together, they created the Robo Sable so that she could have an avatar that showed her in perfect health and could, you know, carry on her operations for her with no one the wiser to her condition. And why'd they do this? Because there's a bunch of really interesting political drama that's boiling between Symkaria, her home country, and Latveria. And so Sable needed to be able to put forward a strong front so her political opponents didn't try and take advantage of how vulnerable she is right now. To make things even spicier, her condition is likely going to be fatal, hence the foreigner's attempts to get his hands on the Infinity Formula, which is the only thing that can save her. Teresa comes in to remind us that she still exists, and she explains that the formula's benefits are going to come at a cost. That being that Sable's going to be dependent on it for the rest of her life if it's even going to work, which is unlikely. She also reminds us about her friend who died protecting the Infinity Formula because, we'd already forgotten about him. Like me, Sable doesn't care and says, yeah, I would kill your friend all over again because it's worth it to me. It's worth the cost. So getting a little huffy and realizing that her relevance to this plot is rapidly diminishing, Teresa just kind of notes on out of there and says she's just like, oh, well, the chameleon's not here. Why am I even here anyway? We're all asking that. Why are you here, Teresa?
No doubt.
And so she just kind of nopes out of there.
Nopes out of there. I like it.
Meanwhile, Chameleon is chatting things up with the Sable's political rival, Countess Karkov. And he says, hey, so yeah, I was actually double dealing you the whole time. Like, I'm on your side and kind of helping you with your political moves. But I also made sure that Sable got her hands on the Infinity Formula. And you know me, I'm just trying to make a profit on this any way I can. But to kind of make it up to you, I'm going to give you this super special shield sniper rifle along with the Hitman, who's like the only guy trained to use it. And so that she can make her next step. We cut back to Spidey, who is trying to make sense of everything. Silver Sable being back, what's going on there. But in typical Peter fashion, he is late for class. And wouldn't you know, it's the day of his group's presentation. He tries to explain, the coffee bean line was intense. This is actually important. I'm not just repeating a random line. This comes back up. But Jamie, the douchebag guy, as George pointed out, waves it all off, says he'd already accounted for Peter being late, and he had handed out 3 envelopes to students at the beginning of class. He asked them to now, in true showmanship fashion, ask them to each open up the envelopes in turn. One shows the time that Peter was to arrive to class, 4:26. The second shows the color shirt Peter's wearing, red. And the third, to put any skeptics to rest who, are kind of like, you could have set all this up, you planned this. They open up the third envelope, and it details the exact excuse Peter used when walking in. The coffee bean line was intense. Jamie then unveils the real focus of his presentation, a little glowy orb thing called the Clairvoyant. This thing basically does what Doctor Strange did in Infinity Wars when he went and searched through all the different possibilities across all the multiverses to see whether they could defeat Thanos. Likewise, this thing looks for common threads among all the multiverses to predict what is the most likely outcome. So it basically looks ahead to see the future. Before we can get too interested in the cool sci-fi stuff, we're going back to world politics. There are people currently all gathered in droves outside the UN, I believe, protesting the human rights violations going on in Latveria. Inside on the floor, the Chameleon is disguised as some red-haired politician.
It looks like fucking Wilson. He's got the bow tie and
Yeah.
He's basically takes a really hard line stance condemning Latveria. The delegate gets all offended, says, you're being a hypocrite, and demands, to be treated with respect. You're going to bow down the way you should. And outside, we see the Hitman lining up his shot with his sights set on Dr. Doom himself. To be continued.
Okay. What's your grade?
There's another A-.
Okay. Zach in a big Vegas bed now. What's your grade?
Oh man, this is a C- for me.
Okay. C-. Yeah. George, grade.
I give this one an A.
Okay. JR.
Yeah, I give it another D.
Another D. Ashley, pros.
Basically very much the same as the last issue. I'm just really excited with what they're doing with the 2099 plot line and seeing Miguel again. I also like the blending it with the drama with his class and how that was all set up. The clairvoyant thing really kind of piqued my interest. I just like the cool sci-fi stuff that they're implementing in this issue. It's just, I don't know, call me easy. I like big, bright, glowy things. So, and this issue delivered on that. So if my needs are simple, this issue gave me what I want.
Did I give my grade? I'd give it like a B.
I don't think. Okay.
Okay, I give it a B. George gave it the highest grade. What's biggest pros out of you?
Foreigner, Silver Sable, Doctor Doom. This thing has everything.
Hitman. We haven't seen Hitman.
Hitman. I mean, there's just.
I thought he fell off the Statue of Liberty in Amazing Spider-Man number
If
176.
you go to the Wikipedia page, there are multiple Hitmen.
It's just there's a lot going on here, and Chameleon is being chameleon and playing both sides, which is something a chameleon would do. Teresa looks like a complete and total bitch, so I like that. You know, Spencer did a good job of making me worry about Silver Sable.
I know.
I mean, I love Silver Sable. I'm
Me
a
too.
big Silver Sable fan, and I'm like, oh my god, I don't want Silver Sable to die. This is terrible.
Yeah.
And I
Same.
thought, and then like the limo pulls up, and I'm like, oh my god, it's going to be like a life decoy of Silver Sable again, or something or whatever. No, it's Doctor Doom. Dude's getting ready to try to assassinate Doctor Doom.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
By the way,
I enjoyed this a lot.
If you haven't read the Doctor Doom ongoing, really, really strong first issue.
Who's writing
Loved it. I know Salvador LaRocca is on art.
He's a
I
good
don't
artist.
remember the guy. I don't remember
Really
the guy's
good.
name.
I'm gonna
It
have
was-
to
it
look
was-
up the writer.
It was okay. Look, I liked it.
I
didn't
liked
as
it a
much as you.
lot. But Ash, anybody else pros? You really care? I agree with George. You really care about Silver Sable's fate.
I know. I was legitimately worried. I was like, oh god, I don't want anything bad to happen to Silver Sable. And I like that
Well-
Silver Sable and the Foreigner were actually legitimately endeared to one another. I was, oh my god,
Had we ever seen that before? I know they've fought before. I don't know if they've ever been lovers.
not like that. Not like
No.
you know.
Well, Silver Sable's not going to die as long as they think Sony's going to do a movie about her.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a movie. That's funny.
Yeah, that's real cute there.
That's
Dara.
funny.
Yep. But who would have thought they were doing a Morbius movie, though?
It's coming out in next year.
Felicia, my fucker.
Cons, Ashley.
All the world politics going on kind of pulled me out of it. Like I said, I like the sci-fi angles, and so the seeing what's going on with the Zimkari and Latveria just didn't feel as grounded in Spider-Man as we've kind of gotten comfortable with in Spencer's run. It felt like more what we didn't like in Slot's run, where it was constantly jumping all over and everyone else's business. So I'm just not too invested with everyone else's machinations with what's going on with Latveria and the UN. It felt like a bit of it was kind of thrown together to like, oh, we had to have something going on with Dr. Doom because that's how we have to scramble to tie it together with what's going on with 2099 and what Dr. Doom did there. So it felt a little hashed together, and it was moving away from what interested me about this issue. It felt like a distraction.
JR, lots of cons out of you, I imagine.
Well, I mean, a lot of the same problems with the previous one. Again, the 2099 crossover, the stupid study group. I don't care about those people. God, they're repulsive. And then anytime that the story deals with Kari, and I don't care about Karia.
Simcaria. It's not that hard.
Yeah, well, it's
Next
at least
to the mascara, yeah.
I don't care for any of
You
that.
don't like Silver Sable?
Silver Sable's okay, but I don't care about any of the politics of her country. I don't
Okay.
care. Go fight Latveria or whatever and blow each other off the face of the earth. I don't care. And what's with Norman looking like Robert Patrick? I mean, what? Yeah. I mean, the chameleon trying to touch the Countess or whatever.
You mean Robert Patrick from Terminator 2?
Yeah. I guess that's the closest thing I can imagine him looking like. But anyway,
He looks like Robert Patrick with Norman, and then he looks like the Terminator with the metal shell for the chameleon. I could totally see that.
Yeah. So anyway, this is just a boring story.
Okay. George, cons? I don't think you have many.
It's not really a con. It's just something I'm not interested in. The stuff with the students, that whole subplot, and the clairvoyant. It's not really all that gripping to me, but then I wonder if it's not all that gripping to me because I'm so distracted by Silver Sable and Foreigner and
Yeah.
Doctor Doom and all this other stuff going on. Maybe that's it. It's just I don't know. We'll see where it goes. I mean, I'm open to it. I'm not shutting it down or anything. I'm just saying it's the least interesting thing out of everything happening.
I'm curious, George. Two things you like are
Very
2099 and also Conan. They're doing a Conan 2099 book. Any interest in reading that?
They got the rights to do Conan back?
Oh
Yes.
yeah, Marvel has it. They've been doing it for a couple of years.
What?
Yeah.
Yes, Marvel and Roy Thomas is writing one of the books.
I thought Dark Horse had it.
No, Marvel
Mark
got
Horst
it back.
lost the rights.
Yeah, that's going to, and it's going to premiere along with Letterman 2099 as well.
That's a real thing.
Conan! Glob. I have never prayed
Conan
to anyone.
Oh, I see. I
But
got
if
it.
you do not help me out now,
So,
to hell
George,
with you.
finding Conan in 2099, is that something that interests you?
It would depend. Like I said, I don't really. I'm still. I get that you guys are liking a lot of the other titles, and I'm hearing things like, "Oh, Immortal Hulk this," and blah, blah, blah. But then I've heard that other things before, and I check into them, and they're crap.
Have you read
So-
Immortal Hulk?
No,
Okay.
that's the reason. Like even you sent me that message this week, or you had told me that earlier that somebody's doing something that's like Doctor Strange's Superior Foes or whatever.
No, I recommended Doctor Doom's ongoing.
No.
I said
You literally sent me a thing saying.
I did. I said, remember the recommendation I did of Superior Foes? Well, I also equally recommend Doctor Doom #1.
No, you said something was like somebody else's Superior Foes, that they were doing something, and I was like, I don't remember what it was now.
Also, I liked Ghost Rider #1 also.
But I have so little faith in Marvel anymore, and I'm glad that a lot of people are, more people are enjoying it, and that Cebulski's maybe trying to fix things and get things back in alignment and everything. It's just I look at a lot of the stuff that I like, that I really like, characters I really like Doctor Strange, Thor, and I look at certain things. I look at new Marvel. I'm like, there's no one I trust at Marvel to handle these properly or do them justice. Marvel has proven to me for the last several years they don't understand Doctor Strange anymore. They just don't get the character anymore. There's nobody there who understands.
Yeah, Mark Waid's currently writing Doctor Strange. They're relaunching with a #1 called Doctor Strange Surgeon Supreme.
Because he has use of his hands now.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Cons out of Zach. Have we heard it, Zach?
Nope. So,
Okay, go ahead.
especially in this issue, I think Gleason's a good artist. I don't like his Spider-Man head. It's too round. It reminds me of that Ultimate Spider-Man.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? The way the eyes look just don't look right to me. They're not properly proportioned. I know it's nitpicky. I know it's nitpicky, but I look at somebody like Gleason's Spider-Man looks almost manga-ish. Everything else looks fine to me, but I look at Sliney and it looks like it's the love child of Sal Buscema and Mark Bagley from the 90s, and I'm like really okay with a little bit of like Ryan Stegman for some seasoning, and I'm I'm good with that. So like especially in this issue, it just kind of like
reminds me. What you're saying is reminds me of my feelings about the current Miles Morales artist.
yeah.
He does everything except Miles's face right.
It does
I mean,
everything- costume. Yeah, it's costume.
Miles's costume's face right.
Yeah,
The
it, like,
eyes look like old man, but
they look like
Ross.
they're square because
yeah,
reasons.
it does
Um,
everything else right except the face.
Like
Throws you
I
off.
don't like the way he does I don't like the way he does the entire costume. But we've talked about that on
Yeah.
Spider Satellites, which you can find on patreon.com/crawlspace. Sign up today. But that's the that's probably my big, and it was really prevalent in this issue. I'm a sucker for Doom, so that is a pro for me.
Yeah.
I don't dislike the intrigue, but I also think this whole plot of like making Sable hurt, making her hurt and stuff, is almost like it was so jarring because last time we saw her, in Ends of the Earth, she looks like she's gonna die, and then Silver Sable's dead, and then all of a sudden she's all better now. This is like kind of like, to me, feels like Spencer cleaning up a slot mess again, and it's like I don't hate that all the time, but it's feeling like he's doing more cleaning up messes than developing some stories.
And granted,
into-
he has a lot of mess to clean up.
True, but I'd
Yeah.
rather be like, and like I said, Gleason's 2099 looks awesome, but I'm not a huge fan of his Spidey, so that's why I gave it a C. Again, this is middle part syndrome, so maybe my grade will adjust, according to how this arc ends, but I'm and I think obviously we know that the use of the webware to make the clairvoyant is an awful idea. So like I say, I don't know. I'm ready for
Well, we got 3 more issues of 2099 storytelling. JR's rolling his eyes. You don't want this crossover for 3 more issues, huh?
Well, I mean, good Lord. Tell the story and move on.
right.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, it was like that whole Craven Central Park story. How long did that last?
Yeah, that got overbloated. And I feel like that we're getting a little bit of the overbloatedness with this particular book. So I'm hoping that we'll move on at the end of this year and go into 2020, with fresh eyes.
Yeah, the reason I'm a little more partial to this, and probably Brad is in the same way. Although Brad likes symbiote crap, so I don't know.
I do.
Is that and the last thing, with all the Carnage crap and everything, I don't like that. I'm like, keep this event out of my comics. But then when the event happens to be like someone I actually like,
Right.
it's a little, and I can tell, and I can see the character being handled correctly. That's a little, that's probably coloring my enthusiasm.
I feel like too, we see Miguel so rarely, so like every time we see him, it's like, "Hey, Miguel again!"
That's Miguel. Yeah.
I mean, look, I
he
enjoy
was
Miguel.
he was here last year, wasn't he? What didn't his book wrap up last year, or was it 2 years ago?
2 years ago.
2? Okay.
Yeah, because last year basically you took the creative team from 2099 and put it on Ben Reilly, the not real Scarlet Spider.
That's right. And I guess the last time we saw Miguel was in the end of Spider-Verse, the movie.
Yep.
So anyway, all right, that's a wrap up. Let's do final thoughts before we say goodnight for this episode. Ashley, please don't go 4 months before we see you again. We miss
No, we
you.
won't make this
Stop
a Toy
getting
Secret.
sick every time we try to record, and
Yeah. The fans, as they've mentioned throughout the night, they have missed you also. So welcome back. And we will come back with gift exchange. So be prepared for
yeah, I'm excited.
December. So
Excited.
start shopping now, everybody. Okay. Final thoughts, Ashley. What do you want to say?
I'm excited to see more of Miguel. I don't care if it gets bloated. I just want to see bright, pretty things. Sometimes that's all we do. And that's okay.
Well, there you go. All right. Zach, final thoughts in Vegas, baby.
You know what? I'm about to get up out of this bed, and I'm going to go downstairs. I'm going to play some blackjack. Hopefully, win a couple $1,000, and then go home tomorrow.
What is it?
So.
Isn't it 1:30 a.m. there, or what time is it?
It's only 11:22.
Oh, you go back hours. I'm sorry, not
2 hours. 2 hours.
go back
behind.
2 hours. Okay. Yeah, that place never sleeps.
I gambled to 4 o'clock this morning, so I'm
Good
going to
Lord.
try not to do that today.
I'd never been to Vegas until this past April, and one of the funniest things I saw was when you get off the airport, get off the plane into the airport, and there are slot machines in the Vegas airport,
Right.
and they are inside of a glass thing. It's like a fish tank of gamblers and smokers,
Right.
and like the glass, the smoke is just billowing out of the casino.
I remember that.
That was funny.
Yeah.
Have a heart attack grill burger, please. I thought that
Probably
was
not
really
on,
good.
it won't be on this trip, Douglas, but I'll do it on the next one.
Oh, it was fun.
So I can get spanked.
Burger.
I mean, I'm always looking to get. Wait, So anyway, moving on.
If you want to get spanked, there's these guys that hand out these little cards.
no,
This took a horrible turn.
JR, final thoughts.
escalated way too quickly.
I was about to say, final thoughts. I can't wait until this storyline is over.
Aw.
I just can't wait.
You just got one more month. There's 2 issues coming out in December. In January, you start fresh. with a brand new
with 2020 eyes.
2020 eyes. There you go.
I understood that right. For a second.
All right.
Come on,
final
that's a good
thoughts
pun.
to George.
Not much. I'm kind of like Ashley. I mean, I'm just enjoying seeing Miguel back. I'm just, such a big Miguel fan. Miguel always brings a lot of fun when he's handled correctly. We know when he's done right. And so, yeah, I mean, I like that part of it. But on the one hand, I'm also, I'm ready. I'm enjoying it, but I'm kind of like JR. I would like, for it to, conclude and move on, and let's get back to the overarching, Cinedemon thing and
Kindred,
going on. But here's the thing, and we've talked about this a lot tonight. I'm just, after this, it's over. But then the next one's just coming right around the corner. I don't know what it is, but by sometime by spring we'll have another thing.
I suspect the
forced
next
onto
one.
the book.
From what I've seen, they're leading up to a Mephisto event. Mephisto is popping up all over the universe.
Don't force a Mephisto event on us unless you're ready to go ahead and get rid of one more day finally.
I think it's coming. I think something's happening.
That's a 2020 prediction.
We'll see. I still don't think we're that lucky, but
I'm not looking forward to Dan Slott's Iron Man 2020.
One thing I noticed is that we're still seeing Quesada listed as the chief creative officer in the credits.
Yeah.
So I'm ready for that to be done with, and we can see Feige's name in there, and I guess ostensibly Joe's name just doesn't appear in comics anymore, and I'm fine with that.
Here's a question. If after this event, Spencer is only currently writing one book, granted it's Amazing Spider-Man twice a month, would you be excited for a Spencer written Miguel ongoing?
Yes and no. I mean, if Peter David isn't going to do it, and at this point, if you're Peter David, why would you? Because if you're Peter David, all you know is that you're going to take over the book again. Okay, here we go. We'll bring Miguel back. And yet I'm going to have the same problem of them fisting me with these stupid events left and right.
Jeez.
Whoa.
So Spencer's in the same so on the same time, sure, if Peter David doesn't want to do it, let's see what Spencer can do with it. At the same time, it's going to have the same problems where it's just,
That escalated
with the
very
events.
huge. Very huge.
Wow. All right. YouTube chat, all 610 of you currently watching, thank you for sticking around. We've been on the air since 8 p.m. It's now 12:26 a.m. So we have a new Spider Jeopardy, which I will release before this episode because George thinks I won't.
And be sure to share, give us a like, share it, subscribe it, and of course, check us out on patreon.com/crawlspace. That's patreon.com/crawlspace.
All right. Gentlemen and lady, before we go, JR and George, when would you like to record Spider History and Fight Club? Would you like to do that next weekend? Would you be free?
Yeah, we can do that.
We would be recording December and January together.
Okay. No, I'm good. Like, what day do you want to do it?
I'm busy Friday, but a week from today, Saturday.
Yeah.
You be free, both of you? Okay.
Yeah, Saturday. Yeah.
And Zach, we need to do a Patreon whenever you're free.
Look, I'm still wounded, so I'm going to be pretty free.
You're in Vegas gambling and eating, and you're carrying your action figures around the country. You're up till 4 in the morning.
Hey, first of
You're up till 4 in the morning gambling. You're not injured anymore.
Okay, I can't lift anything. Like, my dad's been having to lift everything. So
What do you have to live to do a podcast?
He lifted his pop figure.
I'm not doing
his
a
actual
podcast.
legend.
I'm saying I'm wounded, so I'm not working right now. I'm still off work for the next couple of weeks.
Oh,
So any time for me is good. Is
medical
what I was
leave.
trying to say there, George.
guys are funny.
DC Marvel fan guy says Boomerang fight in the near future, please, for Fight Club. Didn't we do one recently? Didn't we do like his first appearance? Or did we cover that in Spider History? We covered that. Somebody asked me about it on Discord, and I'm like, we've covered this recently. And something.
And Boomerang. I don't remember.
I swear to God we have.
Anyway.
All right. Good night.
Good night, JR.
Good night.
Congrats on your he's gone.
Yeah.
Oh,
JR doesn't
wow.
linger, dude. JR's like, I'm out.
JR's
I'm out.
I'm bailing. All right.
Ashley, it was really good to see you.
I would
Yeah.
agree.
I've
It was
missed you
good
and
to see
Jack.
y'all again too. I can't believe it was so long.
I know,
I missed
Should I let
right?
it be that long?
I missed you a lot. You look good. You look like
Yeah.
you're happy.
True.
You know, despite my jokes about my starter wife, I'm really happy that you guys are happily married and you're in the wedding bliss
Yeah.
that you're in right now. So
We've had a lot of good things. It's been like this week has been overwhelming, like a good way. Like I just got promoted at work actually, so
hey,
I'm senior editor now. I'm in charge of the
Nice.
department.
senior.
Ooh.
Ooh.
All
Well,
the
she's
power.
moving on up.
Yeah, Jack's working
Duty
full
Duty
time.
side. Jack, what?
Jack's working full time now. He just got his
Awesome.
hours boosted. So
Y'all
Are you
doing
going to
well.
get a
that just
deluxe
like happened.
apartment in the sky?
We're gonna be house hunting next year.
Oh my god.
Oh.
So they're going to be on. They're
Yeah.
going to go on HGTV and they're going to be on House Hunters.
That's right. House Hunters International.
We have
you
a
know.
$4 million budget on a on a $10 a week
Yeah.
salary. I hate that. I hate that when they do that.
I actually saw like what I was watching House Hunters Hawaii, and it was like, oh, we're looking for a $2 million house, and he's a firefighter, and she teaches hula part time. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
this is the
And they have a
meme.
$2 million budget. Yeah, bull.
Are you
I hate it.
are you still keeping up with your with your with your Gundam collection?
Oh yeah, I have not had it for a while just because I'm running out of room.
She's not. She's going to get. She's going to have a whole room for her Gundam stuff whenever.
Oh yeah,
she-
I'm gonna get one of those shelves, and I have to like y'all seen what I have here,
Yeah.
but I have like 2 more shelves at my mom's that I've got to unbox and pose and everything.
I feel your pain because I've almost officially ran out of space for Legends.
It's a struggle.
Yeah, I understand because like I'm trying to get the full '90s Jim Lee era X-Men, and I've got most of them, and like I'm like I don't know where I'm gonna put these now. Like I'm basically to the point where I'm like I'm gonna probably get the Vulture, and that's probably like the last, and maybe White Rabbit on the next wave, but like that's it. And then
I am let me flip the camera around. I am having a Funko Pop problem. So check this out. There's you hate that, George. But I got
who bought that for you though?
You did. You got that for me. I got a Web Pit Spidey Funko. I got Spider Ham right there. I got Spider Gwen down there. There's the Spider Mobile from the 70s. You got some Mysterio, Morbius, Bagman, Spider Ham,
Marvel Legends.
Craven, and Sandman. Got the Green Goblin, Spider-Man from Homecoming's passed out. You got Mary Jane from the PS4, Doc Ock. Here's my clones,
Ben Kane.
and there's Spider Hulk. And this came in the Marvel Legend where you get what was the Venom Spider Ham villain called? Do you remember, George?
Pork rind.
Pork rind.
Pork
yeah.
rind. That's right.
Pork rind.
Oh my god.
And this is a little mighty mug that they put out where you hit his head, his eyes change.
Ooh,
That is cute.
it's adorable.
He's got, he's
I ain't
wink,
gonna
he
lie,
winks
though.
at you there.
I'll say this: the Sam Kirby, who's part of our Facebook page, guy,
Yeah, he posts his collection.
and him doing the little bat display for the Funkos is actually pretty
that was
sweet.
really I like that.
You know, I'm not as into Funko, but like it's clones, so I'm obligated. I'm contractually obligated to buy clone stuff.
This cane is just really cool.
Yeah, I just like
the webbing even looks different.
yeah,
on the
yeah.
cane.
I like that. I just got to get the Spider Carnage, and that's the only version of Carnage I like because of the '90s show.
Oh yeah,
Truthfully, but yeah, no, but
George,
yeah,
George, you would like this.
Like
'Cause
what?
don't you like the Spider-Mobile? I just thought that was so cool.
that,
No,
yeah,
I like all the Funko stuff. I don't have enough money or room to keep up with any of that.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where, like, between Legends and Funko, I literally have no room for anything anymore. So
I've got to do things like pay rent and eat.
I'm literally to the point where I've got to start, ratcheting down that part of the fandom
You
for
like
me for a little
this?
bit.
From ASM 258, I think, when the symbiote got off of him in
Yeah.
Bagman.
But I am going to make a prediction to you, Douglas.
Yeah.
As a Hulk fan, I really think the two Build-A-Figures that will probably be happening, I really think, are Stegron as a Build-A-Figure.
Really?
I really do, because of the size.
Oh, Stegron Marvel Legend. That'd be a first.
And then the other one would be Spider-Hulk. Those are the two.
Stegron's had Marvel Legend figures before.
Yeah,
Yes.
he was.
Spider Hulk.
I know that there was a Toy Biz version. I don't know if Hasbro's ever made one though.
George has it.
Yeah.
There's a very short list of stuff that Hasbro hasn't made yet. By the way, did y'all see that the Vulture is going to have a Blackie Draco head as a head swap?
That's fine.
I was like, that's a deep cut.
When was the last time anybody saw? Isn't he dead?
Yeah, he's dead.
Gang,
But
I
his
need to wrap
daughter-
it. I
His
need
daughter's
to
in the
go.
MCU. So,
All right.
I want y'all to have a
Anyway.
good night, all right?
good night,
Good
guys.
seeing y'all
See you
again.
guys.
Good seeing you, Ashley. Glad
Bye.
you're
Thanks,
better,
George,
Zach.
again.
Bye,
Thank you
Brad.
for the
Bye.
Spider Jack,
Bye.
everybody.
You're welcome. We'll see you later.